sessions, we having sessions, we locked in, you better tap in. Sessions, we having sessions, we locked in, you better tap in.
Sessions, we having sessions, we locked in, you better tap in. Welcome back to this episode of Sessions QC from the Smokers Lounge. We got Rich over here in the hot seat now. What's going on, brother Richard? How you doing, sir?
Man, good. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Man, you know, Drake told me, I want to talk about your work, man, because you do a lot of work in the community. You work with the homeless. So, would you like to expound on that and what got you started in that work?
Yeah. So basically, what I do on a daily basis for a lot of the days a week is I go out and actively look for homeless people, either staying in buildings they're not living, like paying for, or in camps, like in the woods. Just kind of go around, and if I see somebody even walking down the street that it has a lot of bags and has a lot of stuff that normally you wouldn't be walking around with, try to stop them. And my goal is to contact them, let them know I'm there to help them, not hurt them, because most of the time when you go up to somebody on the street and you be like, hey man, what's going on? And you just stopped your car, they're like, what's going on?
Right.
But then I'm like, hey, I'm just want to ask you a question. It's hard to ask sometimes if it's not obvious whether they're homeless.
Right.
But so then at that instance, I'll say like, you know, are you struggling with housing right now? Something like that, to make it a little bit softer, because some people.
Yeah, you hear the word homeless and be ready to fight you.
Well,
know.
I mean, even one time, so I contacted a guy that was he was staying in a hotel, one of the hotels that a lot of homeless people stay in. There's a lot of hotels in the area that are mostly homeless people, and he was staying in one of those hotels, and so I got him on a system that helps us to get people permanent housing of their own. And when I called him and said, hey, I got you on the list, one of these pool meetings that we have, because every Wednesday our agency gets together with lots of other agencies in the area, and we pull people from the list that we've built and say, okay, this person now we're going to assign a caseworker to. And at that point, that caseworker starts a process of trying to get that person to get looking for housing for themselves. And once they find it, that caseworker helps them get into it, or a conglomerate effort between that caseworker and other agencies. We help them get into that place, help them figure out how they're going to pay for it. If they can't pay for it, then we try to figure out a way that we can pay for it, not Christian Care, but the other agencies that do that type of thing. We can pay for it for a certain amount of time until that person gets on their feet.
Right.
You know, if they need mental health help.
That's what honestly, the mental health system around here is what is a lot of the problem. And I mean, because people, they took the funding for that a long time ago, and never really, and they kicked a lot of them out, and a lot of those people end up in prisons and homelessness. But it's really like, dang man, the government gave up on them a long time ago. So I appreciate that you get out there and work with them and do what you can to bring them in. You know,
I was just talking about the mental health part this morning with my mom. My mom and I like to go out to breakfast for church. She just turned 78 last month, and I try to spend as much time with her as I can, just because. And my dad passed away in 2020, and ever since then, my relationship with my mom's changed to the point where I see her like, oh wow, it just got real. Like they leave, you know what I mean?
Right, for sure.
So now it's like every Sunday
spend that time with her.
And we were talking about the mental health part, and I said, you know, what I've seen since I've done this is that our mental health system sometimes takes a little bit too long to help people, and then when they do, it's not really a system that's designed to make sure that they're able to do what they got to do, because they have mental health issues. Like, go do this. Well, a normal person without issues might say, okay, I'll do that.
Right.
But people with issues, they end up missing appointments, not taking their meds, things like that, you know. So.
Yeah, that's dope, bro, man. Yeah, I that's hard, because I got a lot of family that deals with mental health issues, and I understand it, you know what I'm saying? But I try to deal, I think I'm messed up in the head too, so, you know, I cannot melt my
You know, hey, we all
I'm just stable with it. I'm able to move a little bit, you know what I'm saying? I'm functional mentally health messed up, but, you know, that's messed up. But I also, man, these people around here, man, you got to be a strong homeless. Because if I ever lose it all and I got to be homeless, I'm going somewhere where I can deal with the weather. It's gonna be hot all year round, Jack.
Well, as a matter of fact,
I'm not doing it.
Hey, as a matter of fact, that guy I was talking about that I contacted that hotel, it was wintertime, and I said, hey man, I got you on the list. Can I put you on the list for our shelter until you get your housing? He said, you mean a homeless shelter? I'm like, yeah, homeless shelter. Nah, man, nah. Like, he was still in denial that he was homeless, even though we just got him on a list for homeless people to try to get housing. So
yeah,
that's kind of a thing.
I mean, yeah, it's messed up. People messed
Yeah.
up. That's when that mental health stuff, man. You know,
Yeah.
what my man say at the end of the day must end.
But yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much what I do.
For sure.
What got me into it? So way back when I was in college, I was 17 years old and freshman in college, and I used to go to church and pray every day. First I get up in the morning to run, I get back to the dorm, change, go to church, not during church, but just go to the church and pray every day. I had a really close relationship with God when I went off to college. And one day, just while I was on a run, I got this picture in my head of, like, not standing on a pulpit somewhere, but just helping people, but talking to them, almost like a preacher type thing. And I felt like God was speaking to me, and I didn't really understand what it meant. But the bishop of my church at one time said that he felt like I was called into something. So I've always felt called into something. I just didn't know what it was.
For sure.
And at 17, I would do my thing, go to church. And one day when I went to church, I was up there praying, and all of a sudden, just this image of the most terrifying thing that you can imagine right in front of my face, like I was afraid to open my eyes, right? And I left the church and I didn't go back. Like, it terrified me. Like, I ran out of the church. And so, not that I didn't ever go back to church, but I never went back to that church and prayed every day like I had.
For sure.
And at that point, shit just started rolling downhill in my life. I started doing things I said I would never do when I got to college. I started slipping in my grades, doing the things that, like I said, I shouldn't be doing. And that was the beginning of, like, a journey in the opposite direction, which culminated, I mean, don't get me wrong, in 2018, what happened, it wasn't my wrongdoing, it wasn't criminal activity, it wasn't like because I was doing this or that, it was because I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so in 2018, I got shot up close with a rifle 3 times in the abdomen. And thankfully, I can still walk around normally. I'm still pretty normal. I had no organ damage, but 1 bullet went through, 2 stayed in. They were able to take 1 out that day that it happened. And then they had to do something with an artery because I had internal bleeding. And they had to leave the other one in because it was, like, behind my sciatic nerve, right? And he said, well, maybe in a few years it'll work itself to the surface, and we'll be able to take that out. And so it took quite a while for recovery. You get cut open all the way down, and found myself basically, like, laying on a floor all day long, thinking about, damn, why was I spared? How did I get shot with a rifle up close like that 3 times? And literally the bullets just, they both went in my hip area, and they were able to take 1 out, but I could have been dead. Right. And so I felt like God spared me for some reason. And up to that point, like I'd say, like 3 years prior, I felt that calling again. Like, should I be a pastor? Should I be a whatever? Should I help? Whatever? What am I supposed to be doing? So when I got shot in 2018, when I recovered from that, I found myself doing my normal thing still, but this really nagging, almost everyday thought in my mind and feeling in my spirit, like, why did I get spared and what am I supposed to be doing?
For sure.
And so, got back to work, did my thing, joined the millwright union. I'm actually still in the millwright union. I'm a 3rd year apprentice in the millwright union. Be 4th year next year. But obviously I'm not doing millwright work right now. But the job that I did before this, was a short-term thing. And when the job ended, I found myself at a place where like, okay, what am I going to do now? And my pastor and I and a couple other guys had what we call the dudes group at my house every Tuesday night. And we get together, and it's basically a soul group where we check in, say, how you been over the last week or two? Right. What's going on, whatever. And at that one, he was like, hey, I know you're looking for work. A job just came up down at Christian Care for street outreach coordinator. I'm like, well, what's that? I didn't know anything about it at all. And I thought, like maybe that's God's prodding me into, maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Now you street outreach.
Now I'm street outreach, and I feel like, so I think like, who was it? I can't remember the name of the two priests or whatever, but it was like they lived in this place in Italy, and this one priest took another one out, and true story, he took this guy out and he said, I'm going to teach you how to preach, basically teach you how to be a pastor or whatever. And they went out and they just started helping people, going up to people, talking to people. And on the way back, his mentor was like, all right. And he said, wait, well, I thought we were going in there to preach, And he said, we have been all day long. And
that's what
yeah,
you do in your work.
Right. And I mean, it's a stressful job sometimes, but it's so rewarding that washes that out.
So then you played a guitar to get the stress out.
Yeah, I do.
So that,
Yeah.
We get Chai in the building today.
Yeah.
How long you been playing?
About, let's see, 30 years.
30 years with the guitar.
Yeah. Yeah. Started playing when I was 17 years old, right before I went off to college.
That's when you started playing?
Started playing.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
I used to want to play the guitar, but
yeah.
then, I gave up on it.
Hey, I almost did too, man. When I tried to teach myself, I bought an electric guitar. I was like, that's too hard,
Yeah, you teach yourself something else.
Right.
Most definitely. So, the music is just something you do on the side?
So, I mean, I'm in the worship band of my church, and I play guitar and sing in that band, which honestly, man, is probably the highlight of my week. Sure. I've always loved music. I've been playing piano even longer than guitar, and so music has always been in me. But when I'm able to play, a lot of times I find myself like going into like worship music and just sitting there and playing, and I'll be like, wow, it's 2 hours later.
Sure.
But wow, I feel so much, and it's just always been in me. And so the song actually that I'm gonna be playing for y'all today is written by a guy named Chris Molitor, who was the worship director at my brother's church out in Spokane, Washington. I'm actually an identical twin. And my twin brother lives out in Washington. Right?
They did with two of y'all, man.
Hey, they stopped after that. I'll tell you that much. They're like, oh, that's too much. Right? But I mean, and you speak of that, but honestly, it's a miracle that me and my brother are even alive and the size we are today. I was only 4 pounds 9 ounces when I was born. My brother was 4'13". They sent us to St. Francis in Peoria because our lungs weren't developed and they didn't think we were going to live. But you know what I mean? So God obviously has a purpose for everybody. And sometimes, like, I mean, up until being shot in 2018, which was probably the most devastating thing that ever happened to me personally, I had a rough road sometimes. I mean, I didn't do it the way I knew I should or the way my dad tried to help me understand that I should through God's word and the way that my brother and I were brought up. But once you find yourself sort of in a position where you're willing to surrender, like Nate was saying, basically at that point when you surrender, when you truly surrender, and it's not necessarily you saying I surrender, because you can say that, like I forgive, you can say that, and you can ask God to help you forgive. Yeah, right.
You gotta be man.
But
it's like trying to quit smoking cigarettes. I'm gonna quit today, and now, you know what I'm saying? 3 days later, you back smoking because you wasn't trying. You was just broadcasting it. When you really want to quit, you're gonna quit. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So
appreciate all that you do in the ministry, what you got with the band playing, also as well as the Christian Care Street Outreach Program you got going on, man. So when y'all see this guy face, no, he's not 12, but he's also the guy to help you out. You need some, on my mic. I'm sorry I missed everything. mic, man. I thought he was hot over there, the cameraman, telling me my mic messed up. My bad. But thank you once again, brother, for coming through. Rich, you know what I'm saying?
Hell
The
yeah.
Christian outreach ministry you got going on, talking to people, man, trying to help the homeless, man. I salute that. I know that's a hard one, bro. You know, I know you get all the worst words thrown at you every day, and you just trying to help. So I salute that, man. It takes a strong person to deal with that. I salute the band, the music, man, and we're gonna see what you got going on. Thank you for coming through.
Absolutely.
Christian Outreach Ministry. That's how they can get a hold of you, right?
Yep.
Christian Outreach Ministry. We have a sad shit. We locked in. You better tap in.